A 40-year-old goalkeeper stopped the European champions, then broke down because his mother was watching from an island across the Atlantic. Days later, governments, FIFA, and strangers moved to bring her to him. But the reunion only happened because of what he said after the final whistle. Hi, this is Cyrus Fernando with FNTG, From Nothing to Glory, which finds a human side within the story. So what happened next? Before Cape Verde played Spain, Ana Candida Evora made a promise from her home in São Vicente. No ball would enter her son's goal. Her son is Josimar José Evora Diaz. The football world knows him as Vozinha. He is 40 years old, a veteran goalkeeper whose career has moved through small clubs, lower divisions, and countries far from football's brightest lights. Ana was not in Atlanta when Cape Verde entered the World Cup for the first time. She watched from home. The greatest night of her son's career was happening across the Atlantic. Spain had Pedri, Rodri, Ferran Torres, Mikel Oyarzabal, and Lamine Yamal. Cape Verde had roughly 500,000 people, a deep defensive bloc, and a goalkeeper most of the world had never heard of. Ana had no tactical explanation for what was coming. She simply believed her son would stop everything. And then he did. Spain controlled almost 75% of possession and attempted 27 goals. Cape Verde spent long stretches defending around their own penalty area. Every pass brought Spain closer. Every clearance only delayed the next attack. Then Vozinha took over. He denied Pedri in the 36th minute. Ferran Torres struck the crossbar. The rebound fell towards Oyarzabal, whose header looked ready to turn Spanish pressure into the inevitable opening goal. Vozinha reached back and clawed it away with one hand. Before half-time, he flew across the goal again to push Laporte's header around the post. Spain introduced Yamal. The tempo increased. The spaces became harder to protect. Cape Verde kept retreating, blocking and surviving. Vozinha made 7 saves. Spain scored none. When the final whistle confirmed a 0-0 draw, Cape Verde had earned the first World Cup point in its history. Vozinha was named player of the match. His teammates surrounded him. Millions of people who have never seen him play were suddenly searching his name. But while Cape Verde celebrated, Vozinha began to cry. He thought about the grandparents who had raised him and that had died before they could see this moment. Then he thought about his mother. She had predicted the clean sheet. She had been right. And she had watched it from thousands of kilometers away. Ana Candida Evora is a 59-year-old house cleaner from an island nation whose supporters faced a difficult journey to this World Cup. Cape Verde was among the countries affected by a United States policy requiring some visitors to post a refundable visa bond of up to $15,000. A World Cup exception came later, after money, documentation and travel arrangements had already become obstacles. The sequence was more complicated than a rejected application. The State Department said it had no record of Ana submitting one, and officials believed she needed a valid passport. But from Vozinha's perspective, the result was simple. His mother could not be there. After Spain match, he explained that the family had not managed to gather what was needed in time.
I saw that you cried right after the game was over. What made you cry?
I cry because I grew up with my grandparents, and unfortunately they are not here. They died few years before, and they was everything for me. They give everything for me, for my life, and also because my mom, she didn't manage to be here because of the visa, I forget now. It's because of the money you have to pay for the visa. We didn't manage on time, and I would like she to be here, but I'm very happy also, and I'm very happy for all the Cape Verdean people.
Those comments travelled around the world almost as quickly as his saves. A football story had suddenly become something larger. A son had waited his entire career for one night. His mother had waited her entire life to see him on that stage. And bureaucracy had placed an ocean between them. The public reaction was immediate. Vozinha began the tournament with fewer than 50,000 Instagram followers. A Brazilian broadcaster urged viewers to follow him during the Spain match. And within minutes, he had crossed 1 million. By the end of the week, he was approaching 15 million.
And now all of a sudden he's a social media superstar. You guys did that. So tell me the play-by-play as to how this happened.
While the match was like going on and Vozinha was playing really great against Spain, we looked at each other and we said, come on guys, let's do a movement with our fans, with our fan base that is huge. We have like more than 35 million subscribers on YouTube. So let's try to get this huge audience and they should follow Vozinha. We can make a change in his life by bringing him to the spotlight, by bringing him the love that the Brazilians have for football. Let's show him some love. And then more than 1 million after the match, more than 2 million, then the whole world like embraced this move and Vozinha is now like a huge star.
But the most important response did not happen on social media. Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the United States House of Representatives, learned why Anna had missed the match. Jeffries contacted Secretary of State Marco Rubio and asked the State Department to do everything possible to get her to Cape Verde's next game. The State Department, officials from Cape Verde, FIFA and Cape Verde's Football Federation began working through the problem. The fees were waived under the World Cup policy. The documents were processed. The visa was approved. Then the journey began. Anna travelled more than 24 hours to Miami, arriving on Friday afternoon. FIFA officials and volunteers met her at the airport, and she visited the tournament headquarters in Florida. And sometime that weekend, before Cape Verde played its second World Cup match, mother and son were finally reunited. Vozinha had already become one of the tournament's most unlikely stars. Now the person who had believed in him before the World Cup knew his name was beside him. The timing made the story even stranger. Cape Verde faced Uruguay on Father's Day. Inside Miami Stadium were 64,003 spectators. Anna watched from a suite, holding Cape Verde's flag. Below stood the son who had become a global sporting phenomenon in days. This time, Cape Verde did more than survive. In the 21st minute, Kevin Pina struck a free kick from 31 metres. The ball stayed low, travelled through the defensive line and entered the net. Cape Verde had scored its first World Cup goal, but Uruguay responded before half-time. Maxi Araujo equalised, then created a second goal for Agustin Canavio. Cape Verde entered the break 2-1 behind, facing its first World Cup defeat. But this team had already shown that expectations meant very little to them. Substitute Helio Varela entered the second half. 2 minutes later, he pounced on a loose back pass, moved around the exposed goalkeeper and finished into the empty net. 2-2. Cape Verde had come back against a two-time world champion. Vozinha did not record a save that night. Football sometimes produces that kind of irony. Against Spain, he needed 7. Against Uruguay, both efforts on target went in. But late into the match, his positioning still mattered. Twice, Uruguay found dangerous spaces. Twice, Vozinha advanced, narrowed the angle and forced the finish high. The final whistle brought Cape Verde another point. Anna waved the flag wildly. Vozinha walked towards the supporters and saluted them from the field. The reunion was not followed by a fairy tale victory. It was followed by something that felt just as honest. Another draw earned through resistance, recovery and belief. It would be easy to tell this as a story of one famous footballer using his influence to solve a travel problem. That is not what happened. Vozinha was not famous when the World Cup began. He was a 40-year-old goalkeeper who turned professional at 25. His career moved through Cape Verde, Angola, Cyprus, Moldova and Slovakia. For years he played matches that created no global headlines. Even his nickname points backward. Vozinha means granny in Portuguese, a name connected to the grandparents who raised him and shaped his life. He kept playing because the World Cup remained possible. Not likely, but possible. Then at 40, he reached it. He stopped the European champions. He cried for the people who were missing. The world listened. And 5 days later, his mother was inside the stadium watching Cape Verde make history again. That is why this story matters beyond Cape Verde. World Cups are marketed through superstars, sponsors and giant stadiums. But the tournament becomes meaningful through families. The parent watching from a different country. The player carrying several generations into one moment. The supporters who cannot afford the flight. The people whose passports make the journey harder before football even begins. Vozinha's save made the world notice him. His tears made the world understand him. And his mother's journey revealed what reaching a World Cup can mean for a country that had never been there before. Cape Verde now have 2 points from 2 matches against Spain and Uruguay. Their first World Cup campaign is still alive. Their final match against Saudi Arabia will decide whether the story reaches a knockout stage. But something permanent has already happened. The world knows Vozinha. It knows the goalkeeper who waited until 40. It knows the mother who predicted that Spain would not score. It knows that she crossed the Atlantic after officials, football organisations and strangers responded to one emotional interview. And it knows that Cape Verde did not arrive at this tournament merely to complete the numbers. They held the European champions. They fought against Uruguay. They scored their first World Cup goal. And through it all, one family became the human face of a national dream. Vozinha's story doesn't start on that pitch in Atlanta. It starts on an island almost most of the world can't find on a map. If this video moved you and you want the full journey from the Blue Sharks' first qualification campaign to the moment Cape Verde walked into their first ever World Cup, we wrote that story, Cape Verde, the Atlantic island that rewrote history. Everything you need to know about how they got here. The link is in the description. And for the tactical blueprint that made this possible, how Cape Verde's system neutralised Spain before Vozinha even needed to make a save, watch FTG Intel's full breakdown. The story behind the score, the people behind the moment, and the mother who crossed an ocean to watch Cape Verde make history. I'm Cyrus Fernando, this is FNTG, from nothing to glory, and I'll see you soon.